What's up, everybody? I'm Scott.
I'm Jason.
And you are listening to a winter edition of Liquid Kernedge.
I saw the pictures of snow in Kingman, buddy, and
that's true,
freaked
man.
me out a little
bit.
bit.
At any point in time this week, I will openly admit we are recording this on Monday. When this releases on Thursday, we're supposed to have another 4 to 6 inches drop. You would think it was the snow apocalypse here, judging by all the pictures that have been posted over the last 24 hours.
Oh yeah, you even made the Phoenix newscast. Kingman did. So you guys are big time. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Wow. Well, I tell you what, man. When I left for work at 6:30 this morning, my front yard had no snow in it, but my backyard was completely covered in the white stuff, and what had melted had already started to freeze over on the roads. And I realized that when I was coming around the bend to the hospital I work at, and I realized I could feel my tires slipping, and I should probably slow down a little bit because otherwise I could be going right into someone else or one of the islands there. Separating the lanes. So it's pretty crazy there for a little bit.
Well, and Phoenix is the same way. We usually have like very little rain until we get to the monsoons.
Yeah.
And we're actually keeping up with our average already. We're already still on pace right now. So it could be a wet year for us this year.
I think it's an El Nino winter. And, on top of that, for you guys down there, this week marks one of the best weeks of the calendar year in Phoenix. The start of the Cactus League. Pitchers and catchers and full squads have reported for Major League Baseball. So the lull from football to baseball season has lessened. Spring training is on its way.
Yes, and we already have plans. We have family members coming into town who are going to be inviting us to go to some spring training games. So we've got already a couple mapped up.
Yeah, and I will. I think JP and I will be down there for a couple games in mid-March during his spring break. If all goes according to plan, to see some teams we've never seen before in some stadiums we've never been to before. So kind of a fun month of March planned. So we'll see if we can get together on that. And maybe you could play hooky one afternoon and come catch a game with us because we're going to go during the week.
Well, you missed out on a really fun taco crawl over the weekend.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, we at Scottsdale, Old Town Scottsdale had a taco crawl. And basically for those of you who are not, understanding or not aware of how it works is a few of the bars in downtown Scottsdale were making tacos, and you just kind of bar hop from bar to bar to bar, and you get a free taco and then have some drinks, and it was a great time. Dean and Danielle came down. Steve, as you remember from the date swiping episode that we had, was there. And it was Noreen and I, and we just had a fantastic time. It was a lot of fun. But it got me thinking because we actually started talking about hermaphrodites.
Uh-huh.
Something about alcohol mixed with tacos gets you talking about some weird stuff, my friend.
Apparently.
And
so
we were talking
tequila and tacos that got you thinking all these weird thoughts, or would it be?
Yeah, I mean, I didn't have any of the margaritas. I stuck with beer mostly just because you know how margaritas sometimes when they make them in those big doses like that, they just use too much of the margarita mix and not enough of the tequila.
Yeah, I hate when that happens.
So I kind of stuck with beer. But, me, I mean, I can't drink a lot of beer before I get a little buzz.
Yeah, you get a little lippy. So before we get into this next part of the story, I want you to hit us up. Would you rather have tacos or tequila? Hit us up at Liquid Kernedge on Facebook, Instagram, or Twitter. Or would you rather have tacos or tequila with our executive producer, Tom? Hit him up at liquid_EP on Twitter and Instagram.
Now, I'd like to just start before we get started on our topic. If I could have tacos and tequila, I'd be okay with that.
Yeah.
It's the tequila or beer is really the main option that I think I had to choose from over the weekend.
Uh-huh.
And I chose beer, and I'm kind of thankful I did because some of the people that were drinking tequila, the margaritas, said they were very, very sweet, and I don't like drinking a lot of margarita.
Too much sweet and sour in the margarita can fuck the whole thing up.
Yeah, and then you mix it with like carne asada and pork tacos and stuff, and it can get pretty nasty.
I'm sure.
I'm glad I stuck with beer.
Good for you.
But you get drinking, you get talking. You know how we are. Liquid Kernedge, we do a lot of that. We don't do as much drinking anymore, but we do a lot of talking.
Yeah.
We started talking about hermaphrodites. And
now, hermaphrodites or transsexuals, because there's a difference.
Well, we started with hermaphrodites. Like women that were born with two
sexual organs.
And anyways, I'd never seen what a hermaphrodite looks like. So, of course, in all my glory, I get on the phone and I start searching, hermaphrodite, and at first when you search for something, you realize that it only gives you like a written description, but then there's a little link that tells you to look at images. I'm not sure if you knew that or not, but
I
you
have
click
been
on
known
the
to hit that link
images
a couple times. Not on,
okay, once or
not
twice, right?
searching for hermaphrodites or transvestites, though. Let's be clear about that.
So, anyways, of course, then I mean, I want to say that they were pornographic, but I couldn't because it was scientifically linked to hermaphrodites. But they showed picture after picture after picture of women, and I would say all women. I don't think I saw one man that had a vagina. It was all women who had a penis and a vagina. And it got us talking, and it's like, man, some of these girls were really attractive. And it got me thinking, so at what point does this girl tell a guy that she's going to start dating, hey, by the way, I might be more packaged than you are? So, I'm just putting that out.
Okay, so before we advance on this conversation, we need to clarify, are you talking about transgender people, or are you talking about legal hermaphrodites?
Well, that is a good question, because originally it started with hermaphrodites, but then we started talking about transgender, or even transvestites, because you could have some. I've seen some transvestites that looked pretty damn good. I mean, I knew that they were men, so I wasn't completely interested, but you could make the mistake.
Yeah, I guess you could.
You could. I mean, if you drink enough. I mean, I've done it before.
Wait, you what?
I've drunk enough to not be able to tell the difference between a good-looking girl or a bad-looking girl.
Okay. I thought you said you had drank enough before to not care that it was a transvestite.
No, I think I would care about that. I think I would.
Not that there's anything wrong with that. If that's something you're into, more power to you. That is not my cup of tea. I just wanted to clarify that on your end of the conversation.
Oh, okay. So what do you think, Scott? Like, you start dating a girl, and oh man, she's a nice girl. She's really fun. She's very athletic. She seems to be able to, throw the ball like really a long way, or she's really amazing athletic wise. She's really strong. Man, I'm gonna date this one again. At what point do you think it's important for the person to say, oh, hey, by the way, I used to be a guy?
Well, let's clarify this, because you said I'm going to date this person again. So you're implying that you went out with this woman when it was a dude, when she was a dude.
No.
Or just
no, I didn't imply that. No. If I did, I didn't mean to.
Okay.
No.
So
you meet someone on Swipe app, or you meet, I don't know, whatever apps are out there now. Yeah.
And
you meet a girl who, you look at her picture, she's really pretty girl. You go on the first date. She seems really awesome. She's got a great personality. She's a little strong, like she's kind of got broad shoulders, but you don't think too much of it,
Yeah. So when would I want her to tell me that she's of the opposite gender or has been gender reassigned?
Yes. Yeah, there we go.
I would prefer to have that conversation sooner than later. I think if you, it's hard to explain because you want to be politically correct about it, but I think from a straight male perspective, if I'm talking to someone thinking they're a female and they're not, I think full disclosure, I need to know as soon as possible.
Okay. I think because we started the conversation laughing, joking, drunk, having a good time. But then it got to a more serious discussion of, I'm like you. I feel like if you were to hold something back from me like that, and then you told me after 6 months and we started falling for each other, and
well, if you haven't figured that out in the first 6 months, then you have way more willpower than me, number one. Or maybe there is no chemistry there if you haven't even tried to catch a feel or even see what they're what's going on down there.
Well, and with the transgender though, if they've had the surgery or they've had the procedure, would you really know? Even if you did,
and that's an excellent question. I don't know if you would know, but that's also something that if you had the surgery, I would like to know as soon as possible. I know that to some that might not be a big deal, but to others, that's kind of a big deal, man. If you used to be a guy, I think I'd want to know. And I think for most women, if they're dating a guy that used to be a woman, I think they'd like to know too,
Yeah, I don't know. I'd like to be politically correct and forward progressive thinking that wouldn't change my opinion of a female that if I found out that they were a male. But I have to be honest to our listeners that I think for me, it would probably be the deal breaker. We had an episode about that.
Whoever first.
Yeah, that would probably be one of my deal breakers. I can be your friend. We can go have a beer. We can go hang out and be friends. But I think I would always have a little bit of a barrier about letting my heart go to you. And I know we're going to get people's opinions about, what a mean person I am. And I can't believe that you would love so superficially, but
and I guess you could argue the heart wants what it wants. I have to tend to agree with you on that one. That's not something that I'm not something I'm interested in pursuing with someone that's switched genders or whatnot. It's a very fine line in today's world,
Well, and like you said, I mean, we unfortunately we are a superficial society. We if we're a guy, we like women. We think that we'd want to have a woman who was born a woman. We don't think about, like a Caitlyn Jenner, right? Where, was a man for 45 years or 50 years and then became a woman. And I know it's not cool to say that. I mean, I'm saying it now. I'm thinking, God, Jay, you're a superficial jerk.
But are you though? I think that's a legitimate, I think that's what you need to find out early on. I think it's something that if you're someone that is of a transgender nature, or I think it's your responsibility to tell that person, just full disclosure, this used to be me. Like we've been talking, texting, whatever, and I like you, but as we have more human contact, I think you should know that this used to be who I was. That way, everything's out on the table, all cards on the table. You know what I'm saying?
Well, and yeah, I agree with you. Now, one thing that did cross my mind is that, like Caitlyn Jenner, I mean, he became a woman, but I think he dates women.
He does.
I think he still dates women. So maybe a transgender person.
Now, how does that work though? If you're a transgender person, because he has not had the surgery yet, right?
No, I think he has. I think he's fully changed.
He's fully changed. So
I think so.
You went from being a man who identified, who dated women, but also identified as a woman, to a now woman who identifies as a woman that dates women. So are you now a lesbian?
Well, as loose, hey, not being an expert on this by any stretch, but I would think loosely, yeah, he became a lesbian.
I mean, I think I'm trying to follow the bouncing ball here, and I'm trying to get a full grasp on what this can mean in that particular scenario.
See, and I think, if I'm honest with myself, if I met a girl who was a really cool girl who said, hey, Jason, you're a really cool guy, I like you, but I got to be honest, I am a transgender and I don't have any interest in being with you more than just as a friend, I could be okay with that. I mean, I think I would be okay with that.
I don't know. I have no problem being friends with them and hanging out with them whatsoever else. But I think on a romantic level, I think that'd be a very hard thing for me to do, just from my own mental standpoint, and it's something that's still new to our culture, new-ish to our culture, that we're still identifying and trying to figure out as a society. Because I think right now we're either super ultra conservative or super ultra liberal. And there's no middle ground anymore. Does it make sense?
Yeah. I remember Noreen told me, go ahead.
I say, so either, in some people's eyes, either you're completely for them or you're completely against them, and there's no in between. And I think the majority of America probably falls in between. It's like, yeah, it's not bothering me. I don't think I'd want to date one, or at least I'd want to know before I started, just out of respect. And I think that's a respect matter out of just two people anyway.
Yeah, I remember one time Noreen and I were having a discussion, and I don't remember how the topic came up, but it came up over if someone lies to you.
Uh-huh.
Like they don't tell you something about yourself or your past. And she made a really good point. She goes, you know what? I'm an adult. Give me the opportunity to make a decision. You know, trust me enough that I'll make a decision. Now, you may not like my decision, but trust that if you really mean something to me, maybe I'll make the decision that you want to.
That makes sense.
You know,
yeah.
And but yeah, I just think some things, and I have to wonder too, if someone is transgender, they probably already know the harsh reality of the situation. So they probably are much more, look, I'm not going to let my heart get too close to you either until we have this conversation. And then if you don't want me, or, you know, you feel like that's something you can't get over, I haven't invested in my time either. I mean, we try to make it sound like, oh, I'd hate falling in love with someone and then they pop this on me. I'm sure they're the same way. Like,
But
look,
don't you think
I'm going to tell you first thing, because I don't want this to be something that we come back on and say, you know, hey, we've been dating for 2 years now, and by the way, this happened, because then now you're dealing with two people's hearts.
But don't you think that's almost a conscious decision that they make early on when they go to this process? Like, I have to be able to be open about this. That's the only way this works for me, is if I'm completely open about the situation and I can be honest with the person that I'm trying to date or be with, that this is who I used to be, just full disclosure, and be prepared before you get too invested that they might not be as interested as they were based on the past.
You know, that leads me to a question too, because don't you, to get to that process, to be able to do the transgender transformation surgery, you have to go through like psychological evaluations and stuff too?
I don't know. Do you?
I mean, I know that when you have gastric bypass surgery, they make you go through a bunch of psychological testing to make sure that you know exactly what you're doing. I would imagine they probably have to do the same thing, because you're right. I mean, this is like a pretty big, I would think it's a pretty big step. Are you emotionally ready for the distinction and the change that not only is physical but psychological?
No, that's true. You know, I'm not sure a lot of people think about that aspect of it too, you know?
Yeah. The hardest part, I think, going through it is it's hard for me to even imagine, like, in my, because a lot of the transgender people say, from the moment I was born, or the moment I was, 11 or 10, I just knew I was not in the right body. Just as much as you and I would say, I knew from the moment I was born, I was in the right body. Like, there's not one part of me that would feel like I would ever, I'm not a woman. I mean, I just don't feel it. But I couldn't even imagine the other way, where it's like, from the moment I was born, I knew that I was a boy physically, but I was a girl.
Yeah.
Like, feeling.
Mentally and emotionally.
Yeah, mentally and emotionally, and one of the things that kind of led into is, now you're hearing more and more about these parents that they have a young child, like 7, 8, who they're identifying or saying, I feel like a girl. I want to wear dresses. I want to play with dolls, or, stereotypical things. And as a parent, what do you do? I mean, you're 7. I mean, at least Bruce Jenner was, in his 50s when so he had years and years to come to terms with it and be okay with it.
That's a good point. I think it just depends on the parental set, and just the openness to let someone be who they are. And I think some people have a hard time adjusting to that idea still, that it's, some just aren't born in the body they're supposed to be born in. It is what it is.
Yeah.
I know Kate Hudson made a big deal, the actress, that her daughter was born, but she didn't want to identify her daughter as a boy or a girl. Yet she wanted her daughter to have that decision to make on what she identified as. And I read that article. I was like, that's dumb. I'm sorry. But if you have, depending on how the plumbing goes, if it's indoor or outdoor, that's your gender. I mean, I'm not trying to be a dick about it, but that is the physical, scientific proof of what gender you are. It does not mean you get to pick which bathroom you want to go to. It does not mean that's just, until you can afford to have that changed. I'm sorry, but on paper, this is the box you have to check, and there's no other way around it. And you really can't mess with that.
And the tough part is when you're 7 years old, what you want at 7 is going to be different than maybe what you want at 17, which might be different than what you want at 27.
Well, absolutely, because you figure
And
who
yet,
you are at 15 versus 20 versus 25 versus 45
yeah,
are 4 very different people.
yeah,
You know,
yeah.
and
No,
you can't be asked to make a decision like that, you know, at a young age. But at the same time, you can't tell the world, well, I want my baby to decide when they're ready. Technically, for legal purposes, I have to mark her as a female on the birth certificate because it's one or the other. But I want her to decide. No, that's dumb. I mean, this is what your child is. This is what you got to roll with.
So yeah, I mean, if they're not even legal to drive, if they're not legal to vote, you know, should parents say, well, my daughter identifies as a girl, so or my son identifies as a girl, so I need to help facilitate all of the possible changes to get him to become a girl.
Exactly.
Oof. I don't know. That's a tough one, man. That's tough.
It is. I
mean,
it's a slippery road, you know.
Yeah, well, and I think that, you know, the what I will say is our society has come so far in the last 50 years that two guys who run a podcast can talk about it. You know, whereas before that, I mean, well, first of all, I don't even know if that would even been an option, right? You could be a transvestite and dress like a woman, but you couldn't have just had a you know, sex change.
Well, I think the surgery's been around for what, 30 or 40 years, but the medicine and the science behind it has been it can only have gotten better. I'll put it to you that way. Because I can't imagine how you would go from a male to a female or vice versa. Because they can't just take off the parts from the male and throw them on ice hoping for a female that wants the same surgery just to be available, because the skin's got to take. You have to have all these, the same rules of transplants have to apply, unless you're getting something synthetic, you know.
Yeah, but I don't even know. And like I said, when I looked at some of these pictures of the hermaphrodites, some of them look so fake. I mean, I looked at them and went, "There's no way that that's a real picture," because I guess I just didn't know what to expect.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. But most of them were women. And most of them were women who had the female parts, but then had like this male part, you know? So, and now I just have a feeling that people who have to deal with that conversation probably want to deal with that conversation early.
Yeah.
Versus later in a relationship, you know?
I agree. I just think that's out of common respect and decency that something on that level, you know, you need to get out as early as possible, you know.
Well, I mean, I think when you're finding a partner, I mean, like, I don't think you should have to go out in society and scream at the top of your lungs. It's a personal choice like that. But yeah, when you're dealing with matters of the heart, it probably makes sense to do.
You know, that being said, though, you should also be, if you're on the receiving end of that conversation, you should also be respectful to what that person's going through. And take it in stride, and don't jump to conclusions and be an asshole about it, because it takes a lot of courage to tell somebody that.
Yeah, that's a good point. I mean, it there has to be an openness or, you know, clearness that says, I trust you to be able to tell you this and know that you're not gonna, you know, freak out or do something crazy.
Absolutely. Well, you guys sound like you had a good time. We ended up going to the Grand Canyon Caverns this weekend. And Seligman for lunch at Westside Lilo. So that was a nice little day for us.
Oh, I thought you guys didn't go skiing.
No, we were supposed to go skiing this past weekend, but our friend's dog, Puppy, jumped off their chair and ended up breaking both its front legs. So they had to go have emergency surgery in Vegas on Friday night for the dog.
Wow.
So the dog
will make
a full recovery. So the dog is fine. But
that's, you know, Noreen brought up a really good point when she read that story. It must have cost them an arm and a leg.
So yeah, we didn't get a chance to go. So our plan B was to go to the Grand Canyon Caverns. So we took a drive up there, and I haven't been there in 30 years, and it's a neat little event. They have a ghost hunt you can do at night for the same price. The tour starts at 5:00, so I think we'll go up again during the summer and do the ghost tour down there, because it's a pretty cool thing.
You know, I've read that some of the musicians in the 70s, like their best work, their biggest work was all in terms of like being on drugs and going to that extraterrestrial place to find these great lyrics or whatever. And that's where this conversation about the hermaphrodites was, because I was drunk, obviously, so my thought was not as clear as it was today. And during the discussion we had with with Dean and Danielle and Noreen, it was like very fascinating. And in talking about it more sober, I kind of feel like a jerk, like, Jason, maybe you need to check yourself and not be so, and like, I wouldn't date a transgender person. Maybe I would. I just,
hey man, you're pushing an older age now, and you get looser on those things as you get older because you don't care. It's about the companionship.
I guess I don't know. I mean, I guess I'd have to wonder, I think it would be, I just think it would be hard. It would just be hard.
Well,
to put that into perspective, that, I'm dating a man.
Yeah, that's true.
A former man.
They're
a woman now, and that's good.
But that's something between you and the person you're with. You don't have to broadcast and tell your friends.
True.
I mean, if she grows a better beard than you do, then we'll find out naturally. But I don't think it's something that you publicly have to tell anybody else, because that's something between the two of you. That's her story to tell in reality. But I guess if you decide to date her, that also becomes your story to tell.
Yeah. No, yeah. That's one of those things too, is that you have to not only be prepared for just the initial shock, right? Of, okay, they used to be a male and now you're a female, but there might be other things that, like, unintentional things that come out of it, like dealing with people making judgments against you and your family when you're enjoying each other's company. And, people, there's still some pretty mean people out there that will
absolutely.
like make a scene or, make statements or comments. And
I agree. It's still a not nice world, if that makes sense. We're a world that's still learning.
Yeah. And I mean, maybe I'm just happy that we do live, our society has progressed at least to a level that we can at least talk about it.
Yeah, I think so.
And I think that as the younger generation becomes more prevalent in our society, I can only imagine that it'll get more and more
normalized,
a comfort level, and it'll be kind of more of a, not norm, but more not so shocking.
Yeah, I would agree with that. So I think as we wrap up this show, tell us which would you rather do, a taco crawl or head into the depths of Earth to check out some cool crystals and mummified things in a cavern somewhere? Hit us up on Facebook, Instagram, or Twitter, all at Liquid Kernedge. If you like Tom's swear trick gif of the week, hit him up at liquid_EP, because he does like him some swear trick. He does.
I can never stop laughing, though. Every time someone gets a swear trick of the week, gets that. I love it. Absolutely.
I think he takes pride in the swear trick. So we have to give props to Tom. And I'm starting to think he has them lined up for different scenarios, just hoping that we hit on the right topic. I mean, we might get a nasty one today just because we went to a taboo topic.
Now, I will say this, though. We did both switch to a different recording system, and the sound has been fantastic.
Yeah, we haven't cut out once today. I will probably be accused of heavy breathing, even though I've not moved the entire time. So Tom can suck on that if that's one of the things he's going to say.
That's one of the comments. That's right.
But if he won't hear this to the end of the show, so he already had to listen, so I'm not too worried about it.
Good way to end the show, buddy. I love it.
I do what I can. So why don't you take us home, Jason?
All right. Well, hey, everyone, thanks for listening. Hope you have a warm week. I know it's going to be cold up in Kingman or wherever you're at, but take care of yourselves. As that was Scott, I am Jason. And as always, if you never know quite what to say, just have yourself some Liquid Kernedge.
And swear track.